How's it going, guys? It's a little windy today, so excuse the air noise in the camera when some of these takes might have some wind in it. But I thought I'd revisit this seat situation. It's like I need to have this seat in here before I can put shifters and things like that in. I thought about trying to work on the shifter, but I need to know what the seat's going to be. And, one of the things about it, I'm thinking of having the seat actually offset just a little bit. The steering wheel already is. It's not by much. I don't know if you can see it, but the steering wheel is kind of off this way a little bit. One of the things, topics of that is that one, I get room for my shifter to be in. The other thing is it's also going to move over your balance a little bit to balance out that motor. I mean, I'm going to put the battery and the gas tank over here, but even just moving that seat over an inch off center would help with balancing this thing out. And like I said, I've already kind of sat in it and had some ideas of like where I wanted to put the shifter, and having just a little bit of space there makes it a little easier. I think I'm going to try to battle with these Saturn View seat tracks. One of the things about it is that if I buy this tracks, you just get tracks. That's all you get. And then looking at those, you still have to have like a C-shaped bracket to mount the seat, to mount them to the tracks, and they don't sell that bracket with those seat tracks. So, and then if I was to put some kind of framing in here, I was looking at like building a box, like two pieces going across, risers, pieces going across. Whereas if I was to use these, I could just put pieces going across that's going to match up to them and weld them in. So there's less weight actually messing with these. What I plan on doing is welding that plate to those tracks, welding them to these tabs right here, and then I'll drill out the plate to the bolt pattern of the seat, and let's go with that. I need to go to Lowe's and get some bolts for this seat. The name on this seat, I've heard a couple of different comments. One, I think Wally said what kind of seat it was, and then also another guy, Hot Shot something. It says Baja Buster on the bottom, so I don't know, take it at that. It says 400 right here, patent pending. Looks like it might have said, it says products right here. It's kind of worn from being thrown around. And then it has like an image of something that I can't make out anymore. But well, anyways, we'll weld that to these things. One of the things is that these things need to be parallel to each other perfectly, or they're not going to work right. So that's going to be one of the challenges with it. But I'll get started. Alright, I got them clamped to that piece of wood. About as same as I can get it. I think it's kind of curious or interesting how this bracket is black from the factory, and this one here wasn't painted. It's kind of weird. But anyways, this is still a narrower setup than what the seat originally had. Like the car seat, because these would have been end to end. But it's definitely wider than what it would have been on the bottom of the seat, and I'm not having a 1-inch riser in between the seat and these things. This will get pushed down. So it's a little lower than what I was looking at, and then also if I need to make it lower, I can just cut off this stuff, and which I'll probably do anyway, so it looks better. It doesn't have these funny looking things, but we'll see how it sits in there. But right now I got it 15 3/4 outside to outside, and 15 3/4 right here. So I'll just weld that end up first and then come down here, and I'm sure I can move it around just a shade, but alright, we got the seat tracks welded to the piece of metal, And I shortened these up and welded them together. So that was kind of a little bit of a hard one to do because these things are hollow and they're only like maybe a 1/16 thick. They're like sheet metal. So I'm gonna flip it over, get that cut off, and then figure out our bolt pattern. Alright, got it all cut off, and here it is in action. Pull it up, and she slides. So it's true enough to work. Now we'll get the holes drilled in there. Alright, got it all bolted on there, and this hole right here is stripped. I was having a hard time figuring out if it was metric or standard, and I was leaning more towards it's probably metric because something like that's probably made in China or something. That seat is. And it was one bolt in this thing when I got it, and I don't know if it was metric or standard, but I think somebody forced a standard bolt into the metric hole, stripped that one out. There is a bolt hole right here and right here, so I'll probably later on utilize those, you know. But seems to work good. See if I can. There you go. So, alright, well, the next thing up would be figuring out some way to put it in there. I'm kind of leaning more towards, I like to try to set something across there to see where the seat, how high the seat sits. Figure out maybe if I need to cut anything off the bottom of these or whatever, but let's see what we can get for like a mock-up. So I think I figured out where I want to put this thing. Basically, I got it to where if I have my foot flat on the floor, my knee could stand up, you know, my bottom part of my leg could stand straight up, and this right here would touch my knee. Which I kind of relate that to a car. I can oftentimes drive with my knee. I like having my setup to where I can drive with my knee with the car, but you can drive with your knee with this, you know. But just saying, so I'm kind of looking at if I'm comfortable sitting there with like that, like I do in a car, then maybe this would be. It seemed like this. It could have the steering wheel back a little further, relative to like where my feet's going to end up and where the pedals could possibly be. Still kind of up in the air with all that. I mean, not really much I could do with that. The pedals are kind of going to get in there in a situation where they're just going to have to be where they're going to be. I got to put a master cylinder in there, so. So, anyways, I'm looking at. I like this height. Right now, this is sitting below grade because it's sitting on these boards. So this right here, basically where I'm gonna have to cut these off. I'm kind of looking at cutting the back a little bit higher up, so that the seat kind of tilts back more. I think it'd be more comfortable that way. So right now I can pretty much mark out where I'm gonna have to put a cross member, and I can mark out where I cut these guys off. Also, I'll have to cut off the tail section of this. This right here is just junk anyways, so that the seat can go back a couple of inches. And right now I do have it set up to where the seat is offset about an inch. You see we're right around the chamfer right there, and then over here, right there's the chamfer, and there's the edge of the seat. So it kind of matches up with the back of the seat, kind of matches up with the steering wheel, because the steering wheel is kind of off a little bit too. You know, to get a little bit more weight on this side and make room for the shifter. Alright, so next I'll cut those off and get those cross members in there. Alright, we got a lot done since the last take. We got all those pieces cut off the seat. Cross members are all welded in. Up front here I used angle iron, 1x1 double pieces of angle iron, so that I have a surface to put my flooring on and something to mount the seat to, and then together they're strong enough, rather than having more weight and more material used by an angle iron piece to hold the floor and the piece of box tubing. In the back we just used the box tubing, and I'll set you guys up on like a tripod and you can see the seat move. Right now it currently goes back here and hits this swing arm. Maybe I can put a stop on it, something like that, but I think that gives it a pretty good amount of adjustability. Now my neighbor was over here a little bit ago and he asked me a pretty good question, and I thought I would make a comment on the video about it. But he's wondering why I didn't have the seat sitting down in it lower, you know, like a coupe, like a Cobalt or a Civic or a Camaro or something like that, you know, more sporty, sitting way down in it. Given the amount of space that you have from here to the pedals, makes a difference between, like if you use the measure from the front of the seat here to the pedal on a coupe of some kind, you're going to have a longer distance than what you would say on a Ford Explorer. You know, you measure from here to the pedal on a Ford Explorer is going to be less of a distance because you're sitting up higher in the seat. So with trying to keep this thing short, this whole idea here with the engine on the side and everything is that it's not a 16-foot long buggy. So sitting up higher makes it so that it can be shorter. It's not sitting up that high. There's probably about 5 or 6 inches lower seat height than what like a four-wheeler would be, and then this thing's much wider than a four-wheeler, so it you know, the center of gravity is much lower, even though that this is sitting a good bit off the floor. Well, I think that's about all I got for today. I'll see you guys next time.